Hello again. In this week's newsletter, I'm going to do a reading from my book that just came out on the 19th. It's called Don't Kiss the Princess, and it stars Heath Savage. If you've had an opportunity to either listen to the audiobooks for Ghost of an Inheritance or Saving the Firefighter, you will be familiar with Heath because he is the eldest son of a family of twins who live in Wildstone, which is a village kind of like the inspiration for it was Williamsburg. Only this particular one is kind of enclosed by forest because it's located in northern Washington. And I know that there are sections that are quite woody in this part of the state, but there are other sections that are more open. My imaginary village is surrounded by trees. In this particular story, the family has been here for a while. Leah and Coop from Ghost of an Inheritance are married, and Heath has a bit of a crush on the lady who is acting as the photographer for Savage Citadel. And so you're going to get to learn a little bit about her and the challenges that come when you've got a crush on your sister's best friend. So this is from chapter 1. Xavier Heath Savage, are you even listening to me? Hang on, Mom, I have to get this uploaded. Heath glanced from his laptop where he had been making last-minute changes to the family business's website while his mother talked. He clicked save. All right, now you have my full attention. She visibly slumped in her chair, looking even wearier than she had 2 years ago when they'd first moved from California to Washington. Taking up residence in a transplanted Irish castle and maintaining their own village had been tough on all of them. His parents had grand goals for their historical theme park, but every new thing they came up with impacted his workload too. What's wrong now? Heath asked, grimacing that he'd added to her stress. You weren't taking notes of my brilliant ideas, were you? She asked with a groan. Heath shook his head. But to be fair, you didn't say you wanted me to. Sorry. No, I'm sorry. His mother gave a self-deprecating chuckle. You already do too much around here. I feel like we're taking advantage of you. Heath's tension ratcheted up a couple of notches. Would she feel betrayed if she knew he was in negotiations with Wrecked Gaming to work part-time for them as a programmer? He loved what he did here, especially working with his family. But he'd studied to do more than web design. Not that web design wasn't a great career, but he'd always wanted to be a game designer. You're gone again. With a sigh, Heath's mother pulled her chair closer to his and took his hand in that all-too-familiar way she had. Something's been on your mind the last few days. Is it Quinn? I've seen how you look at her sometimes. Heath winced mentally. He didn't want to talk about his feelings for Quinn, but he wasn't ready to fess up about his work negotiations either. Not yet, anyway. If Wrecked Gaming wasn't willing to compromise and allow Heath to work for them remotely, there was no point in troubling his mother about it. Deflection would keep him from talking about either. It's only that we have a lot going on right now with the Harvest Festival coming up, Heath said. No offense to your spa idea, but I don't think it's a good use of your time or mine to worry about something that might not happen. His mother pinched her lips for a second before she gave him a resigned sigh and released his hand. You're absolutely right. Maybe that's why I'm having such a hard time focusing on what I want to do about the spa. It's not time. She shot him a hard look. But is that everything? At the moment, yes. And it wasn't even a lie, since his hopes might not turn into a reality any more than her spa idea. Besides, he wasn't doing anything wrong. Heath was nearly 23 years old, making an important career decision, not a teen trying to sneak out at night. He woke his phone to check the time. I've got to get to my office. I'm supposed to meet with Leah about her cookbook. Has she settled on a photographer? Quinn, of course. Leah's thrilled. I'm surprised she hasn't mentioned it to you. Heath took care to keep his face turned away from his mother, who tended to see too much, or read too much into things that could never be. The Savage Citadel was merely a stepping stone for Quinn's long-term goals. She wasn't staying, and he wouldn't leave. I like her. We're lucky to have someone of Quinn's caliber setting up shop here, even temporarily. I dread the day we'll have to replace her. I'm glad she's doing Leah's cookbook photos. His mother stood and shot him a sidelong glance, one he'd only seen when she had matchmaking on her mind. So, you'll be working with Quinn. Well, I have to bounce. Heath rose and picked up his laptop. Talk to you later. He fled the room without a backward glance. It was safer to keep Quinn as a friend. He could still think she was cute, with her shoulder-length red hair and hazel green eyes, and that dotting of freckles across her nose above those kissable lips. Don't go there. He already knew about Quinn's big dream to travel the world as a photographer. The only reason she'd set up a shop in Wildstone and agreed to be the staff photographer at the Citadel was to help build her portfolio and set up potential high-profile clients, like that famous New York talk show host who'd recently scheduled the entire Citadel for a family member's June wedding next year. Having a prestigious guest, especially if she gave them a good review, would be huge for their business. Heath hadn't missed the gleam in Quinn's eyes when they'd overheard his mother discussing it with the talk show host on the phone. Unless she brought in her own photographer, Quinn had a shot at the gig. And a positive endorsement from someone famous meant Quinn wouldn't remain in Wildstone long afterward. It'd be just the publicity an ambitious photographer would need to put her in the sights of other people who could afford to pay her what she was worth. The last thing he needed was his mother playing matchmaker with a woman who would be a risk to date. Heath was already into Quinn too much as it was. He had enough stress in his life right now. Thanks, but no thanks. And I want you to know that even in that little bit that I've read to you there are hints and reflections from 2 other series that are going to culminate in a book that I have begun working on again. The famous talk show host, if you haven't read any of my Safe Harbors books, is Olivia Howard. The wedding is the one from the couple from Swing Vote, also in the Safe Harbor series. And you've already had references to Wrecked Gaming, which is my Billionaires of Wrecked series. And so Heath is actually kind of a bridge, a very powerful bridge, or maybe I should say another powerful bridge between Wildstone and Wrecked, but Wrecked is also connected to Safe Harbors. I've mentioned before that I like linking my series and having characters from other books show up. And the book that I've started work on again is going to be a wedding that takes place at the castle next summer. So just a heads up, and I hope you enjoyed that little sneak peek to Don't Kiss the Princess, and I hope you'll consider picking up the book. My narrator has still been fighting off illness. She got COVID a couple of years ago, and it did a job on her, and her voice is vulnerable now. We were almost finished with the audiobook for Whispers of Forever when she became ill. I don't believe it was COVID, but it's done a job on her voice again because her voice is vulnerable. So we're hoping that she'll be able to get that finished, and then she'll begin work on the audiobook for Don't Kiss the Princess. Have a fabulous week, and thank you for listening.